This won't be like a comic book.
What do we call you, sir? First name, Mr. Last name, Glass.
Hey guys, Mr. Everything here, back with another movie review video, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Glass. Alright, so I just got back from seeing Glass, and if you guys are new here, how I like to do my reviews, I like to talk about the cast, the story, give some of my positives, some of my negatives, and to give my score. And also, I like to do my reviews. The screen you guys are looking at, yes, this is the thumbnail for the video, but don't worry, I'm going to be adding clips and images from the film. So jumping into the cast, so obviously this stars Samuel L. Jackson as Elijah Price, Mr. Glass, as well as Bruce Willis, David Dunn, James McAvoy as Kevin Wendell Crumb, and many other personalities. We also got Sarah Paulson as Ellie Staple. Yeah, the story of this film, as you guys know, this is the sequel to Unbreakable and Split, and it basically picks up with our character David Dunn, and you know, he's doing what he does, taking down criminals, and then he finally comes upon James McAvoy's character Kevin Wendell Crumb and all of his multiple personalities, and he faces off with the Beast, and then they eventually end up at this facility where they're getting tested on, as well as Mr. Glass, and that's how we get all of our three main characters together. And jump into my positives, obviously I got to start off with the cast here. So the cast I thought was great. I mean, James McAvoy as all of these personalities. Anytime he would switch to a different personality, the audience in my theater would just burst out with laughter because it's just so funny, just all of his personalities just constantly switching. And then Samuel Jackson I thought was great in this film as well. I don't think he was utilized that well, which I'll get to in my negatives. And I thought Sarah Paulson was the same exact way. I thought she was a good character and I thought her acting was good. I didn't think they utilized her good as well. And then Bruce Willis, I thought he was really good as David Dunn, you know, returned to this character. It felt very consistent from Unbreakable. And yeah, there's just so many positives, but the main positive I would say about this whole entire film, including the ending, which the ending of this movie is getting a lot of controversy, which I'll get to in my negatives, but just this whole film is very smart. You know, it's very interesting. Those would be the two words I would pick to describe this film. It's very interesting and smart. And if you guys know M. Night Shyamalan, you know, he's a very smart guy. And when he wants to make a smart film, he really does. And you can look at some of his really good films, whether that be Unbreakable or The Sixth Sense. They're very smart. Every shot has a meaning to it. And I love the way this movie was shot. Unlike most movies nowadays, you know, quick edits and cuts. I don't know how many cuts are in this film, but all I can say is there's not a lot. There's a lot of shots in this movie where it's just very long takes. I really appreciated that. And just the way it was shot, like I said, it was very beautiful for the low budget that it was. I don't believe the budget was like super high or anything. The budget for the film wasn't like 100 million or anything like that. And considering the cast you have in here and the way they pulled this film off, and just even the color contrast, you know, with the purple and the greens, you know, we see some shots in this film where, you know, characters are inside of a comic book store, and there's a shot where you see the hero section and it's lit up green for David Dunn, and the villain section is lit up purple for Mr. Glass. And there's just so many interesting Easter eggs and callbacks to Unbreakable, and the usage of flashbacks in this film I thought was very well done. And just overall, this movie is very smart, and I just really appreciated that M. Night Shyamalan came back to his smart roots. And as we all know, M. Night Shyamalan has some missteps, you know, The Happening, The Last Airbender, and countless other movies that are just, you know, god awful, but I can't officially say that he is back. And he was already kind of back with Split. You know, we were all kind of like, oh yeah, M. Night Shyamalan's back. But with this film, I can definitely say he really made something really interesting and smart here, and it expresses these very interesting questions of what would the world be like if there were superheroes. And you have these different viewpoints. You have Samuel Jackson's character, Mr. Glass, and he believes the world should know about superheroes. They should be exploited. They should be out in the world. Whereas Sarah Paulson's character, Ellie Staple, she believes that superheroes don't exist, and all of this is fanny tales. This is not like the comic books. Superheroes shouldn't be in the world. People shouldn't have this power. Now, jumping into my negatives, I do have a few negatives which bring the film down to a lower grade for me. So as I mentioned earlier, Samuel Jackson and Sarah Paulson's character, you know, I thought Samuel Jackson was great. Obviously, you know, he's always great, but I didn't think they used him that well. Like, he wasn't in this film that much. This whole movie is kind of like a Split 2 movie. We get more McAvoy in this film than Samuel Jackson, which is kind of crazy, but I get what they were going for. He's not like the main villain. Obviously, the Beast can actually do stuff, whereas Mr. Glass, he can't even really walk on his feet without breaking his legs. So I understand he can't really do much, and I understand they wanted to set up the other characters. They wanted to give us a return to Bruce Willis's character, but I kind of feel like they did a sort of of disservice to Mr. Glass is so much time that goes by before we finally get to hear him say a word. Like, we see him, I believe, like 30 minutes into the movie, but I don't think he says a word until almost like an hour into the movie. And I don't want to spoil it or anything, but I just thought that was kind of crazy. And also Sarah Paulson's character, you know, I thought Sarah Paulson was fine as well. They do this thing in the movie where every single line she says is like this big, you know, speech. And you see this in the trailer where she's like, I'm a psychiatrist, I'm Ellie Staple. And you see the background is blurred and she's in focus. So in other words, they're using the bokeh technique where, you know, a character is in focus and the background is blurred. But they do that throughout the film so many times. And it's like, well, why is everything such this big dramatic speech? And I just thought it was just sort of overused. And speaking of overused shots, they do a lot of POV shots in this movie where it sort of looks like they're doing the GoPro thing, where it's like, oh, you're looking at the perspective of the character. And they kind of do that a lot in the film as well. And it kind of got a little bit annoying. I mean, the story was good. And like I said, I enjoyed all the really smart, interesting concepts that it brought up. But just overall, I thought the story was sort of bumpy, especially in the middle. Like in the second act of the film, it's very slow. You know, it's kind of just pacing around. Like I said, I understand they got to set up for the big climax. And speaking of the climax, this is going to definitely split audiences, pun intended and no pun intended. So as you guys have probably heard, this movie is not getting the greatest reviews. And I actually made a video talking about this. And, you know, I said in my video that, you know, this is very unfortunate. You know, I was really excited for this film. And I said in that video, I was still going to go see the movie. And a bunch of people were commenting down below saying, oh, screw the critics, screw Rotten Tomatoes. I'm still going to go see this movie. And, you know, I agree with those people. You should see a movie regardless of the critics score. But I don't agree with them when they say, you know, screw the critics or, you know, forget Rotten Tomatoes. They're wrong. Keep in mind, critics are still people. They have opinions. If they don't like the movie, they don't like the movie. And after seeing the movie, I can understand why. The ending, which you guys have probably been hearing about, is just getting very mixed feelings. A lot of people hate the ending of this movie. And my personal opinion on it, I can't go too deep into it, like I said, because it's like a giant spoiler. But all I would say is I understand where those people are coming from. I didn't hate the ending, but I didn't love it either. And kind of like the rest of the movie, I thought the ending was very interesting. It was very smart, but overall, I didn't love the ending. Because when you read a lot of the reviews, a lot of them are saying that, oh, the film was, you know, fine overall, but the ending was so unsatisfying. When I actually went to go see this film, I can understand where they're coming from. And I'm hearing a couple rumors going around that there might be an alternate ending, and maybe that's going to be on a Blu-ray. Who knows? But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. And I'm going to give Glass a C-. So yeah, I'm going to give Glass a C-. So anyway, guys, if you guys have seen Glass, comment down below and give me your thoughts on it. No spoilers, please. Be sure to like, subscribe if you guys are new. Check out my other movie review videos and have a great rest of your day. All right, bye, guys.